Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Om Yagyantimirandasya Jnananjanasalakaya Chakshurunmritam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Dear devotees, welcome to our ISKCON official YouTube channel. Today I am going to discuss 16th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto, in which there is description of Chitraketu meets the Lord Sankarsana. So, as we have heard how Narad Muni gave spiritual instructions to Chitraketu, and when the great sage Narad Muni gave him mantra, by chanting this mantra, Chitraketu found shelter at the lotus feet of Sankarsana. In 11 verses, it is stated how that son who was poisoned again revived, and that Jiva spoke. 11 verses. In verse 4, he says that Kasmin Janmani Ami Mayam Pituru Maturu Abhavan Karmabhir Brahmyamanasya Deva Tiryang Nru Jonisu. By the mystic power of Narad Muni, the living entity re-entered his dead body for a short time and spoke in reply to Narad Muni's request. He said, according to the results of my fruitive activities, I, the living being, transmigrate from one body to another, sometimes going to the species of the demigods, sometimes to the species of lower animals, sometimes among the vegetables, and sometimes to the human species. Therefore, in which birth were these my mother and father? No one is actually my mother and father. How can I accept these two people as my parents? Sri Vishnu Chakravarti in his purport says that Tadeva Kalevaram Pravisto Rishi Jivanniva Ityartha. Actually, that Jiva is Rishi Narada. He entered that body of that Jiva and he spoke. It is stated by Vishnu Chakravarti. So the living entity is eternal. He spoke so many things, 11 verses he spoke. So thus he has neither birth nor death, na hanyate hanyaman sarire, as the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter, verse 20. According to the reactions of one's fruitive activities, one takes birth in various species of life among the birds, beasts, trees, human beings, demigods, and so on. Thus, rotating through various bodies for a certain period of time, one receives a particular type of body as soon as a son or as a father in a false relationship. All our relationships in this material world with friends, relatives, or enemies consist of duality in which one feels happy and distressed on the basis of illusion. The living entity is actually a spiritual soul who is part and parcel of God and has nothing to do with relationship in the material world or the world of duality. Therefore, Narad Muni advised Chitraketu not to lament for his so-called dead son. So, in 12 to 16, these 5 verses describe funeral and queen's atonement. After hearing instructions from their dead child, Chitraketu and his wife could understand that all relationships in this material world are cause of misery. The queens who had administered poison to the son of Pitrati were very much ashamed. They atoned for the sinful act of killing a child and gave up their aspirations to have sons. Thereafter, Narad Muni chanted prayers to Narayana, who exists as a Chaturbhuva, and instructed Chitraketu about the Supreme Lord, who creates, maintains, and annihilates everything, and who is the most master of the material nature. After instructing King Chitraketu in this way, he returned to Brahmaloka, his place of stay, Brahmaloka. These instructions about the absolute truth are called the Mahavidya. So, in 1725, these instructions are stated. This Mahavidya, called Miss Mahavidya, As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, Vidyanam, among Vidya, I am Adhyatma Vidya, Vidyanam. I am Adhyatma Vidya. This is Adhyatma Vidya, Mahavidya. So, in verse 18 it is stated that Om Namastubhyam Bhagavate Vasudevaya Dhimahi Pradimna Niruddhaya Namasankarsanaya Cha Nama Vigyana Matraya Pramana Anda Premananda Paramananda Murte Atmaramaya Santaya Nibruta Dvaita Drishte. These are two verses actually. So, O Lord, Supreme Personality of Godhead, who are addressed by the Omkar Pranava, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. O Lord Vasudeva, I meditate upon you. O Lord Pradyumna, Lord Aniruddha and Lord Sankarsana, I offer my respectful obeisances. O reservoir of spiritual potency, O supreme bliss, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, who are self-sufficient and most peaceful. O ultimate truth, one without a second, you are realized as Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan, and are therefore the reservoir of our knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Vishwanath Thakur in the purport says, 9 words are used to distinguish the Supreme Lord from Jiva. In these two verses, 9 words are there. To distinguish Jiva from the Supreme Lord. And after 1 week of this chanting this mantra, Chitraketu attained the presence of Lord Sankarsana, who was surrounded by the 4 Kumaras. The Lord was nicely dressed in bluish garments with helmet and ornaments of gold. His face appeared very happy. In the presence of Lord Sankarsana, Chitraketu offered his obeisance and began to offer prayers. And these prayers are vigyana. This knowledge appeared in the heart. In verse 58, Chitraketu said, Labdheya manusim jonim jnana vigyana sambhavam atmanam jo na buddhyata na kvachit khyamam apniyat. A human being can attain perfection in life by self-realization through the Vedic literature and its practical application. This is possible especially for a human being born in India, the land of piety. A man who obtains birth in such a convenient position but doesn't understand himself is unable to achieve the highest perfection, even if he is exalted to life in the higher planetary systems. Vishwanath Thakur in his purport says, Jnana means knowledge from scriptures, and Vigyana means direct realization of the Lord. This is Vigyana. So in verse 63, Chitraketu says, Etavan eva manujaye yoga nipunai buddhivi shartha sarvatmana gyayo jat paratmaika darshanam. Persons who try to reach the ultimate goal of life must expertly observe the Supreme Absolute Truth and the living entity, who are one in quality in their relationship as part and whole. And this is the ultimate understanding of life. There is no better truth than this. Siddhartha Swami in his purport says, Na cha atha para purushartho asti ityaha. This is the highest truth, purushartha. And beyond this, there is no other purushartha. In this way, this chapter was described. And thank you very much for listening to this lecture. And please don't forget to subscribe, share, and like our channel, and get the blessings of the Lord.